What do you think about this argument from Musk that the legacy press is dead, or that, and when he says legacy press, I think he's including even new media, really, any place with a
Yep.
newsroom, and that X is where all information comes from now?
Yeah, I mean, I had a little spat with Elon about this because I had given a speech to the National Press Foundation in defense of reporters. And what I was saying is maybe you're the media and that he is a huge platform. And I would argue right now he has the most powerful platform in the media ecosystem. But there's a difference between being a media platform and being a reporter. Like, I will go to my death believing that one of the great attributes of this country are that we have a free press and that we have over the course of history, millions of people who've dedicated themselves to trying to get to the closest approximation of the truth without fear or favor, doing it fearlessly, doing it clinically, and often having massive differences on small communities, big communities, and the national dialogue. Like, I believe that there's something special about being a really good reporter. And I think there's something special about having really good reporting as part of a really healthy, capitalistic, democratic, dominant America. And so I agree with Elon Musk that he has an amazing platform. I would argue he's the most powerful civilian in the history of humanity because he's smart enough to realize that political activity and business activity flows downstream from information. And he now controls the most powerful media platform in X, at least for the big segment of the country that voted for Donald Trump, and for a lot of people that didn't vote for Donald Trump. But like, where I wish that Elon Musk and I could be of one mind is that you can have both, and you kind of need both. You need platforms. I love free speech. I'm with you on that. I also think you need rigorous reporting with rigorous standards. And I don't think just the average person can be a reporter. And I think the example I used in the speech was like, just because like I have like a awesome set of tools and I can see your brain, it doesn't make me a brain surgeon, right? Like, there's skills that I need, there's training that I need, there's like rigorous accountability around what I do that I need. And so I believe powerfully in a free press. I love this country. I couldn't love it more. I'm a beneficiary of it. I love capitalism. I love entrepreneurial zest. Like, we share all of that. I think where we differ is I think that having a free press is one of the reasons that America is unique, is dominant, is free. And like, does it make mistakes? Absolutely. Should it admit it when it makes mistakes? Absolutely. We all should. But I think all these things can, and by the way, will coexist.
Yeah, it's funny whenever I get into an argument with someone about that claim that reporting is dead and that it's all on social media now. None of those accounts that are doing this are uncovering any information. They're,
Right.
if anything, they're posting information that reporters have uncovered and then
Yep.
occasionally using it to bash the New York Times. But, New York Times, Axios, any of these publications has reported more in a single day than sort of these independent commentators have ever reported on X. So I always find it to be a kind of maddening argument, but it's one that has, it's potent when it's wielded against the press. And
For sure. And like, listen, like, people were down on legacy or mainstream media before Elon took up the crusade, but it's getting worse. And I don't think America's better off for it, right? I think America's better off having free speech? I do. Do I think America's better off having a lot of competition across the ideological spectrum in the assertion of truth and news? I do. But I don't think it's better off if suddenly you shut out all of the institutions that spend a lot of money to do a lot of the hard work, especially on the accountability, the overseas stuff, the forgotten people part of what the work that all of we do. That would be bad. It just would be bad. And I think that, again, like, I'll go to my death in that fight, right? That is like one of my non-negotiables. But in terms of like platforms and evolving and trying to change how we make money and how we interact with readers, like, all right, I'm open, wide open. Let's go figure it out.
now, when you're mapping out the kind of coverage of Washington that you want Axios to do over the next few years, what are the places where you think the press erred in the last decade, and specifically in covering Trump and, both in the White House and out of the White House, where you might be looking to change or refine the way that you cover Trump and his administration?
And to be honest, I don't know that we have to change much at all. I think if you look at the history of our coverage, we've always been clinical. We've always tried to be fair. listen, we had good access into Trump the first time around. Jonathan Swann's interview with Trump's probably the most famous presidential interview of modern times. And didn't mean that they liked everything we wrote, but I think Republicans, most people in the Trump White House would agree that we try to get to the closest approximation of the truth. Where people go off the rails, and if we're being honest about where like mainstream media or legacy media got itself in trouble, was one, like just treating the Trump beat like a crime beat, as opposed to like he's a leading political figure, he's president of the United States. Yes, he was testing the boundaries, and the things where he stretched the boundaries beyond the pale, he should be held accountable for. But that can't be the totality of the coverage. And I also think that people erred when they had kind of a condescending, sneering tone towards the people who voted for Trump. It's called half your damn country. Be curious, not judgmental. Be curious, not judgmental. Why are they doing it? You can't just say, they're all racist. Well, bullshit. They're not all racist. Like a lot of my family members that I know and in my extended family voted for Trump. I'm curious. I want to know why. Some voted for Biden. Why? Like, I'd be curious. And so when the press or when individual reporters came off as condescending, I think it gave a huge chunk of this country kind of the freedom to say, you know what, the hell with all of you. I don't believe a damn thing. And I'm just going to be a protest vote. And I'm not going to take you seriously. You're not on the level to me. And so I think that hurt the press. I also think, once X or Twitter, actually pre-Elon, under Twitter, was the first time I had seen a lot of reporters that I've worked with intimately over the years get on a platform and kind of make it obvious whose team they're on. I thought the media Twitter had done a good job, and I'd worked at the Post and I'd worked at the Journal. And until Twitter, I was always the one arguing that people were exaggerating press bias. I had watched the newsroom from the ground floor at the Post and the Journal. I didn't see that much bias. I would always argue, I mean, occasionally you would see it, but it mainly came from people not being religious or not being from a small town, never having owned a gun, right? I happened to hunt, right? And I grew up in a small town and grew up Catholic, right? So I had a perspective that gave me a more panoramic view of the country, but I didn't see it back then. And then suddenly on Twitter, people made it really clear who they were cheering for, either by the posts they were making or the people that they were following. And I think that further hurt us. And so I actually think right now, legacy media is starting to really see that. And I think I look at the Wall Street Journal and I think, you know what, I've never seen the Journal better than it is today, right? I think they're doing better coverage, smarter coverage across more topics, doing it clinically. They're doing great work. And I think a lot of people are doing great work. You might not love the New York Times, but in certain areas, they do tremendous work. They have people all over the world trying to get to the closest approximation of the truth. Like, do I agree with everything on their editorial board? Like, no, but nobody should. That's the whole purpose of an editorial board or an editorial page. And there's some topics where I think the Times is stronger than it is. In other areas, of course I do. And because I'm in the industry, I can maybe filter out what I don't need to pay attention to. But that's why if your takeaway is, Jim's optimistic, there's a lot of reasons to be optimistic about the quality of content that's being produced and what that might look like. And but that does sit at the same time with it being very easy to manipulate people or mold people with either misinformation or kind of emotional garbage.